Well, good morning. It's Wednesday, and driving in, I thought I'd go ahead and record our Wisdom Wednesday this morning, driving into work, and talk a little bit about what's going on. I try to avoid getting involved in political things. I think it doesn't really, I guess I don't want anything to get in the way of being able to care for the people that I take care of. And as such, just been thinking an awful lot about the last, of course, 2 months, 3 months, but also the last 10 days. Saw a billboard this week on something on my social media that said we are drowning in information, but sincerely lacking in any wisdom. And it got me thinking about our Wisdom Wednesdays and what it is that I'm trying to achieve with these little snippets of pearls of wisdom. And I think the main thing is that as I've studied and moved into the functional area of medicine, what I've come to realize is that health is not something that just comes to us. It's something we actually have to create. And creating health takes knowledge and effort and a deep desire to create it. And I think that's kind of what I've come to realize with what we have going on in the world, is that it's something that we cannot take for granted, and something that we actually have to be proactive in helping to create health in our communities and in our world. So I liken it to, realizing that creating health, as I've come to learn in the functional world, begins by healing the gut. It was said centuries ago that all disease begins in the gut. And I believe that we can liken that to what we see around us, in that I think our disease begins in our heart. And what do we do about that? So as I look at creating health by healing the gut, it all comes down to removing those things that are infecting us. We must replenish and replace those things that do heal the gut, and then we restore. So, in looking at what we've got going on right now, I had great words of wisdom from my preacher and my resident theologian this past week in our church service, and just wanted to share a little bit about that, because I think that has great value as we look to this thought of creating health. I have come to realize in 37 years of practice that what goes on around us, what's happening in the world, when we have fear, which creates anxiety, that this affects our health. So part of creating health is stepping back and looking at those things that we really do have personal control over and personal responsibility for. when we don't have control over any of those things, we really don't have the ability to make changes. The only thing we can do is change what we have control and responsibility for. So, as I look at it and trying to help all of my patients create and achieve optimal health, it starts, as I said, in the gut. But in terms of what we are seeing in the world today, I think we have to look inside and start with the heart. And the things I think that we can kind of put into practice, just like what we do to heal the gut, I think there's just some general principles for all people. And as my resident theologian at church this past Sunday said, we really must despise injustice and seek for justice. I think we must show mercy to all people. And above all, we just have to love. So what does that look like? I think individually, as we look from inside to out, we must show what my preacher says, we must have soft eyes. And I'd like to add to that, we must have, as my kindergarten teacher, Miss Priester, used to say, we must have listening ears and open those listening ears. You know, one of the greatest privileges I have in my work is the ability to sit down now for hour and a half with folks and listen to their story. And interestingly enough, when I first received the paperwork on new patients, there's sort of a story there. People have filled out their history, and I look through that and begin to formulate thoughts and ideas of what I feel like I need to address with patients. But inevitably, what I find is that once I get their story, oftentimes it all changes. And that gives me much more of a picture. Just having that amount of time and opportunity to get to know and to listen and to hear that allows me to have an opportunity to really begin to formulate a plan which we do together. It would be so easy to just look at their history and look at their labs and go, this, and this. But honestly, I find that after I've had an opportunity to spend time with people and listen to their story, many times we need to change that dogmatic approach. And I think that's what I've come to learn my 63 years on planet Earth, is that I may have worked hard to learn and obtain knowledge, but because everyone has their own story, that knowledge does not always fit the mold of what I think is happening or needs to be done. And I'm humbled every day by what I learn through you, my patients. And it's important to recognize that and continue to seek out new ways and learn. And I think that's where wisdom comes from. So as we look to the future and look ahead, I just hope and pray that we can continue to have soft eyes and listening ears, and that we can continue to despise injustice, that we can show mercy, and that we can continue to love everyone. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to hear your story and allow me to be a part of your life and practice my trade, so to speak. I hope we continue to remain healthy and seek for ways to create that health, not only physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And look forward to talking again next week.